Okay.
So the name of the town is Signagi, and you see Signagi is a small town in a city inside the kind of castle. You see city wall around, so it was protected from enemies. It was a trade town. I mean that they were the major economy in the town was a trade. There were merchants in the city. From Signagi, when we go inside, and if we go to the next end of the town, we see the whole Alazani Valley, the valley where the major wine growing fields you find in Georgia. Now we are going to visit Pheasant here. It's a very nice winery producing wines from Kavri. Interesting wines, you'll see.
American guy.
The American guy doing Georgian wines. Living in Signagi more than 15 years.
Friends, how are you? We haven't met each and every one of you personally, but I'm John Wurdeman. You probably saw me around the last few days. It's a pleasure to have you here. So, my recommendation was, if you're not very hungry, would be to take a little walking tour of the city to put a little bit more space between your previous meal and the next one while there's still light out. Does that sound like a good idea?
Okay. Okay, now we're walking into Pheasant's Tears. And here's some nice crabby lying about. And
and then maybe we'll do the opposite, then we'll have a tasting outside of the picture there. Both inside?
you can see they're all prepared for the feast to come.
So my background is I'm an artist. I'm a painter. I came from Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I grew up in a family of artists and painters, and moved to Virginia when I was quite young. I went to school in Baltimore, Maryland, and then went to Moscow to do my graduate work. When I was 15 years old in Richmond, Virginia, I found a CD of Georgian folk music. Fell absolutely in love with the culture that created this music, or I thought I would fall in love with the culture. The more I read about Georgia, the more I found it to be a very unusual kind of undiscovered pearl or treasure. And so I read about everything you could find back then in the English language, which wasn't much. You could obviously find The Knight in Panther Skin by Shota Rustaveli. But then I even read like the Peach Harvest of Gurjani in 1882, because there was only like 10 books in the Library of Congress about Georgian culture. So in 1995, I was lucky enough to have an opportunity to travel to Georgia when I was studying at an art academy in Moscow to do my master's degree. And when I came to Georgia, I was taken out to a restaurant by a bunch of Georgian friends, and they, as you've noticed, there's lots of food that's brought out at these, and pile after pile after pile of plates was coming out of different dishes. And after about the 30th toast, the Toastmaster summoned musicians, and the musicians that walked in happened to be the very ones that were on the CD that I purchased when I was 15 years old. So I realized that my relationship with this country wouldn't be simple. Came back in 1996, I was doing research for a big painting that I needed to do in Moscow. And my theme, or my idea, my subject was that tradition does not hinder creativity, but it can actually protect creativity and inspire creativity. And so I came back and was looking for a subject matter, and I chose as my subject the celebration after the grape harvest, when young and old people, men and women, everyone got together and celebrated in food and drink and dance and song. And so I did a big painting based on the grape harvest, and to do research for that, I had to go to party after party after party after party doing sketches, and this is very serious academic research. And I went back to Moscow, finished this degree, but I bought a home in '96 while I was doing research in the town we're in right now, in Signagi. In '98, when I defended my piece, I came right back to Georgia, and met my wife, who was a folk singer. So what brought me to Georgia initially ended up continuing to be a big part of my life. 99 got married, and from then I thought I was just going to live a quiet, happy life as a painter in a small town that the world had forgotten. And then since then, quite a few things changed. The government decided to rehabilitate the town, bringing the world back to me, the world I thought I had left.
You could not
Couldn't escape. And then in 2007, a young man driving by my vineyard on a tractor called out to me and he said, "My name is Gela Patalishvili. I know who you are, you don't know who I am. I know how much you've done to support traditional folk music and chanting. Why have you neglected the wine business? That wine is just as integral a part of the culture of Georgia as the polyphonic singing." And so he said, "Come to my home in the village of Bodbiskhevi, ask for me, everyone will tell you where I live, and I'll tell you my idea." And this was in spring of 2007, so I went to the village of Bodbiskhevi, found Gela, and Gela, with tears in his eyes and hands shaking, saying that he was very concerned that so many of the wineries were starting to import foreign varietals. They were neglecting the old tradition of making wine in Qvevri, and that he really hoped that I would take to heart the traditional way of making wine as close as I'd taken to heart traditional polyphony. And so I went, I said, "Well, to finish this conversation, what do you need from me?" And he said, "Oh, I need nothing except a little bit of investment and I can take care of the rest." And 5 years later, the winery has taken over my life, and I spend my time traveling the world, introducing people to Georgian wine, selling Georgian wine, and just at about the time where we're able to sell our full production, and now I'm able to steal time back for painting again. So that's in brief, the history of John Wurdeman's life in Georgia and in Signagi.